Good afternoon, dear students. This is the second class of mine today. This is Dr. Nataraj, the chairperson, Department of English, Karnataka State Open University. So this is you all second semester student, and you have attended many classes, and today happens to be the fourth class. The morning, I taught you Wuthering Heights. It's a novel by Emily Bronte. I told how Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights it captures some kind of some sort of this kind of puritanic qualities, puritanic conventions, how people of Victorian people have to follow it. It depends on the way of conduct, the way they approach, the way they behave, their attitude. So the entire novel, it makes an attempt to understand the human traits, the human qualities. In the beginning, in the morning session, I was discussing how the Catherine, the attitude towards Edgar Linton and attitude towards Heathcliff. And remember the way there are many instances in the novel where she tells, and she's not Catherine, she's Heathcliff. I am Heathcliff Nelly. This is the line that she uses in the novel. The very popular, the sentence in the novel. Remember this my session. This session, it is a continuation of morning session. I was in a midway through. I completed almost half of the text, and now I'm going to complete the rest of the text. Are you able to follow me here? Are you able to listen? Is the camera is clear? The audio is also clear, visible. This I request student can just drop a message in the the message column that yes the voice as well as the the presentations camera is clear, the visibility is all right, so that I continue my presentation. So this is where I stopped in the morning session. The morning session, I said that the Hindley he sent to university, and 3 years after that, Mr. Hanshaw died. So there are different, there are many developments took place in the novel. That means both the Heathcliff and Catherine, they developed independently. They grew, romantically. Their love is insufferable. It's a platonic love. Yes, Asha, yes, it is. Voice is clear. So there is the romantic relationship developed between, Catherine and Heathcliff. They grow independently, and Hindley he finished his studies. He has come back and to the house, Wuthering Heights, marrying a woman, Frances. By then, his attitude has become even rude than he was before. And by now, we know that even Mr. Hanshaw, the head of the family, he's died. And remember, he's the one who brought Heathcliff to this house. So this way we have left in the morning session. So what happened? The Hindley becomes the landowner, and he is now master of Wuthering Heights, and his wife is Frances. So we are learning something about Hindley, and I told you he finished his studies, and he's a landlord now for this Wuthering Heights, and he's the master of Wuthering Heights, and his wife is a Frances, and he wants Heathcliff. See, the entire story it revolves around Heathcliff, Catherine, and the Hindley, Edgar Linton. There are few major characters who dominate in the entire novel. So the story revolves around only these few characters. So we have Hindley becomes a landlord, I told, and after that, Hindley he allows Heathcliff to so Hindley he allows Heathcliff to stay in the house only as a servant. Okay, but he is not supposed to dominate or take advantage of any situation. So he wants him, he allows Heathcliff to stay, but only as a servant, regularly mistreats him. And he even he sometimes he manhandles him and he troubles him quite often. And one day, Heathcliff and Catherine, they walk to the Tuskers Grange to see some people. Remember, so far we have learned about Hudrin Heights, the Mr. Hanshaw family, Hindley, and these people. And now we are come across another family, that is Thrushcross Grange. So now let us learn something about this family. Okay, that's fine. So now what happens? Uh, um, Here, one day, Heathcliff and Catherine, because they are the closest of friends, though Hindley doesn't like his sister to be with the Heathcliff, but they still continue to be a good friends. I told you their friendship, their yeah, thank you very much. And there, some of you are able to follow it clearly. Fine, thank you. And now their friendship develops only in terms of platonic, but not any physical. It will never turn into physical. So one day, Catherine and Heathcliff, they walk to the Tuskers Grange, and what happens? There, some incident took place. Both Edgar and Isabella Linton. So I told you in Tuskers Grange, there is another family, that is Linton family. It is Mr. Hanshaw family, that is Mr. Linton family. In the Linton, there are two people, there are two characters. One is we have Isabella Linton, and then we have Edgar Linton. They are the brother and sister. And while they were making fun of this, the moment they peeped into the house, both Edgar Linton and Isabella Linton, they're enjoying the music, dancing, and making merriment. And both these people, the Heathcliff and Catherine, they peep into the window and they saw that they were dancing, and they laugh at these people. Immediately, the Edgar Linton dogs it chased after Catherine and Heathcliff, and there Catherine injured by Linton's dog. So that is give a turning point to the novel, which leads to the connection between Edgar Linton and Catherine. Till then they are not at all known one another. Okay, the And dear students, I'm really sorry. There is some internet connection due to which I couldn't connect for the past 2 3 minutes. There was no video was not on. So, um, is it clear now? Is this voice and the video is clear? I know this is a kind of apology due to some network issues. The internet net connection is not stable here, so there was some technical glitch. So anyhow, so this. So their elegant appearance and gentle mannerisms, little the fascinated by Catherine Linton. She's happy about their kind of yes, there is some internet connection, but let me see. I just get along this class. I continue this class. Probably it will be stable after some times. So this is so when she returned to the Wuthering Heights, her appearance and manners are more like a lady. So after she visited Truscas Grange, there is a lot of changes in Catherine Linton because these people are completely civilized. Their mannerisms are more like the Victorian Puritans. And whereas here the people are very much cultured, and whereas in the Wuthering Heights there is a violence, there is a brutal, there is a hatred. The love is not at all existed, and it's a hatred is existed. And whereas if you look at Tuska's Grange, there are you can see that compassionate, the love, respect between one another. So that is there. So we have these two world, Wuthering Heights and Tuska's Grange, where the people's lifestyle is entirely different. So after she chased by the dog, and she was nurtured by both Isabella Linton and Edgar Linton, and they even surprised by looking at the Catherine, who is so beautiful, and they even wonder how come Mr. Hanshaw has left this girl amidst of this forest, and and in a way, Edgar Linton, he develops a love towards Catherine Ansha. And here, even Catherine also, she developed a kind of the fascination toward these people because she finds their appearance, their mannerism, gentle mannerisms are quite, interested. So when she returned to the Wuthering Heights, she has come back to Wuthering Heights. Much before she comes, Heathcliff has come back because they didn't allow her to go immediately. Catherine, she stayed in Tusser's Grange for a couple of days. So during these days, during these couple of days, there is a lot of change in Catherine. How? When she returned to the Wuthering Heights, her appearance and manners are more like a lady. She laughs at Whitleaf's appearance. This is the one big mistake she did it. The moment she comes back from Tuska's Grange and she looks at Cliff and she laughs at his appearance. Whereas she groomed herself, she dressed so much so well, like a typical Victorian, the Puritan people who have some sort of mannerism, some sort of dress code and all that. Whereas if you look at Wuthering, Heathcliff, it is entirely different. So Heathcliff, with the help of Nelly advice, he also tries to impress Catherine by wearing a better dress. So I'm giving you this analysis of the entire novel because once you get the picture of the whole story, probably there'll be no further disturbance for you to understand the study material. So hope you're able to follow the narration, what's happening in the entire story. So now we are in the stage where even Heathcliff also tries to impress Catherine by wearing a new dress, a dress which impresses Catherine with the help of Nelly Dean, because Nelly Dean, she was then a servant. So this is the story. It's going, and then Hindley humiliates Heathcliff, and by looking at his dress, Hindley, the owner of the Wuthering Heights, he humiliates him. He chides him. He abuses him for wearing such clothes. Being an orphan, and whereas Catherine, she comforts Heathcliff, and she makes she comforts him, and she consoles him. So now the Francis Ansha, the wife of Hindley, she gives birth to Hayton and dies a few months later. So now Hindley, he has a son. He has a son, and his name is Hayton. Hayton Hansha, and he's the son of Francis and Hindley, and she gave birth and she dies after 5 months. So now Catherine and Edgar Linton become friends, and they decided to get married. And this is the drastic change which took place in the novel. And Catherine and Edgar Linton became friends, lovers, and married. Of one day, Edgar Linton he comes to Wuthering Heights and he proposed to Catherine. He informed his brother, and he decided to get married. And now, by then, there is so and all his dreams, whatever Heathcliff had his fascination towards Catherine, that for probably a fine day they'll be a good friends, they'll be one another, they'll be together. That dream is shattered now because he tells to I mean, who Catherine tells to the lady a word. How does he say that? She tells that I just read out the lines which are here. This is how Neladine, much before she, this is how Catherine, much before she marries Heathcliff, she marries Edgar Linton, she tells, I can't express my love towards Heathcliff, Neladine. She's describing his love towards Heathcliff, but she can't marry him because she decided to get married Edgar Linton because their lifestyle, their sophistication is different. She thinks that in a way, he matches to get married off Catherine. And my great miseries in this world have been Heathcliff's miseries. This is an important line that you should remember. She tells my miseries are Heathcliff miseries. But if she gets married Heathcliff, the life is not safe. The Hindley will be problematic. Hindley will certainly will not agree. He may send them out of the house. In order to pacify the entire atmosphere, entire situation, in order to bring a kind of equilibrium to the entire atmosphere, to the relationship of the people, and she decided to marry Edgar Linton because if she marries Edgar Linton, her brother, will not be a problematic. He'll be happy, but in case if she marries Heathcliff, his brother will certainly punishes both of them. I watched and felt each from the beginning, and my great thought in living is himself. Now, these are the word of Catherine, and you have to mention in the examination in case if there is a question on discuss the relationship between Catherine and Heathcliff, and otherwise Catherine's compassionate expression towards Heathcliff. Then you have to write all these sentences, for which I advise you to read the original textbook. So she tells that if all else perished and he remained, I should still continue to be. And if all else remained and he were annihilated, the universe would turn to a mighty stranger. I should not seem a part of it. My love for Edgar Linton is just like a foliage in the woods. It's just like leaves. Time will change it. I'm well aware of as winter changes the trees. My love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rock beneath. And this is the line that she uses the word. She's telling to Neladine that my love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rock beneath. It is a determined, a source of little visible delight, but necessary. Neladine, I am Heathcliff. He is always in my mind, not a pleasure anymore than I am always be a pleasure to myself, but as my own being. So by she determined to get married Edgar Linton, but she does not want to marry Heathcliff, but she continued to be there as his good friend. And now she got married Edgar Linton. So now what is the plight of Heathcliff now? How will you imagine it? How do you think about Heathcliff life without Catherine? Because she's the only one. After she is Neladine. Of course, after Neladine, she's a servant. So what happened? Catherine and Edgar Linton, they become friends, lovers, and they got married. So from then, the novel takes another shift that there's a lot of problem that raised the life of both Catherine as well as Hitler. So Catherine confesses to Nellie that Edgar's proposed to marry, and she accepted. So Catherine to Nellie Dean, and she tells to her that Edgar Linton, he proposed to get marry me, and I did accept. Although her love for Edgar not comparable to her love for Heathcliff, whom she cannot marry because of his low social status and lack of education. Remember, this is the line that she uttered. That is, Heathcliff, though his love is not comparable to that of Edgar Linton, but Heathcliff, she can't marry him because of his low social status. So the question is whether the status does matter in marrying a couple and in marrying a person and a woman. So the status becomes a very big hurdle here, and due to his lack of education, because he did not study and he's not at all rich, so and he's not going to marry. She's not going to marry him, and she hopes to use her position as Edgar's wife to raise Heathcliff's standing. And she defends saying that I being the position, after I got the position of being the wife of Edgar Linton, I can raise Heathcliff certain extent. I can help him for his growth. And Heathcliff overhears her saying that it would be degrade her to marry him. The moment she was telling everything to Nelly Dean, standing aside, Heathcliff is listening all the conversation of both Catherine as well as Nelly Dean. And the moment she uttered a word, it is degrade her to marry him, but not how much she loves him. And he runs away and disappears without a trace. There is one clarity that she could only hear that. Okay, audio is not clear. Yes, I think now it's okay. It's okay. Student can just send a message regarding the audio and the video. If it is clear, but it's all due to the internet connection because here all the subject classes are going on. All the classes, all the departments are using internet facility of the universities. But I don't know how far the streaming, the frequency, the effectiveness of this internet. But hopefully there could also be a problem from your end. And if I saw, if there is, try to rectify it. But here I think it's okay. But let me come back to the story. So there is one clarity that the moment she said that it's a degrade for her to get married Heathcliff, and that's overheard by Heathcliff, and the rest of the word that how much she loves, and that won't be heard by him, and he runs away and disappears without a trace. And he decided to become a rich man. He decided to earn money and take revenge, and both on Catherine and Edgar Linton and Hindley. So now by now, is it under? His revenge start towards Edgar Linton because Edgar Linton married her, and his revenge start with Hindley because Hindley humiliated him, Hindley tortured him, and this is how his life changes. So 6 months later, Heathcliff returns, now a wealthy gentleman, and he decided to earn money, property, everything. He wanted to be a rich. And what happened? 6 months later, Heathcliff returns now as a wealthy gentleman. But by then, his attire is different, dress code, everything is decided, everything is changed. And now, Edgar's sister Isabella falls in love with Heathcliff because she has immediately after 6 months he goes to Edgar Linton house, and the way people are there, the way Isabella, where Catherine and Edgar Linton are there, immediately after 6 months, his life changes. He earn money and he goes to their house, Tuska's Grange, and he stand before all the people, in front of all the people. And there, he was attracted by Isabella, and so does Isabella too. So Isabella, she it was infatuated by her, and she fell in love with him. And so what happened? Isabella, she fell in love with Edgar Linton. So they fall in love with one another, and infatuated by Heathcliff's word, and Isabella decided to marry him. But despite of the strong advice by Heathcliff and Edgar Linton, and here Isabella, she has become adamant in terms of getting marry him, and and in a way, Heathcliff has a tendency to take a revenge here. So arguments between Heathcliff and Catherine upset Catherine, locks herself in a room and begins to make herself feel she's now pregnant with Edgar's child. So by then, Catherine, she was conceived and she was giving birth to Edgar's child, and there's a lot of argument between Catherine and Heathcliff, and she argued that why did you come back? Probably she thinks that he has come back deliberately to give a torture, to be a troublesome, to give some problems. And but despite he was adamant, and he was obstinate, and he decided to get her married. And Heathcliff gambling with Hindley and teaching Hayden bad habits. And after he visits Tuskers Grange, he has come back to Wuthering Heights. In the Wuthering Heights, there is no Francis. Hope now the voice is clear. So now the Heathcliff, he's gamble with the Hindley. So Hindley, he lost his wife, and he started gambling, and he's losing his property, money, and money, wealth, everything. And Heathcliff gambled with Hindley also, and teaching Hayton the bad habits. He wants to treat Hayton, the son of Hindley, the way he was treated by Hindley. So this is a revenge. So Hindley, he mortgages the farmhouse to Heathcliff to pay Hindley's debts, because he taking a lot of debts. Hindley, his money, his debts are mounted. In order to settle them down, he mortgages his farmhouse property to Heathcliff, because I told you Heathcliff is earned money now, and he's there to, you know, he's financially well off, and he's going to control over entire Wuthering Heights. So in the beginning of the novel, I told, with the novel of Wuthering Heights, in the Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff is the owner of the house. How? And this is how, because it is the story is narrating by Nellie Dean. Nellie Dean, she's narrating the whole story to Mr. Lockwood. And after that, once the story completes, they come back to the present. In the present, the Wuthering Heights is headed by Heathcliff. But the question is then how he has occupied the property of Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff. It's very much understood by now to you people also that the moment Inlay he mortgages the property, he taking loan from the people in order to settle them down. He begs for money from Heathcliff, and he mortgages the property and takes the money, and indirectly, Heathcliff is going to occupy the position. He's going to control over the position. Okay, and there is one clarification that they say that the voice is not clear. Uh, don't know how come. Let me rejoin again so that. So I rejoined again. Hope now the voice is a bit clear. Um, okay, voice is clear by now, I guess. So I told you that Heathcliff, he's going to control over the property of entire Wuthering Heights by you know. Yes, yes. Thank you. Now, yes, the voice is clear now. Even from our team is now audible. So hope the students you're able to hear me by now. So this is the situation where Heathcliff is Heathcliff is completely capturing the entire property and the farmhouse of Wuthering Heights, and Hindley, his health is deteriorated. His health is deteriorated, and his entire property is going to under the hands of Heathcliff. And Heathcliff, he and I even told you that even Hindley mortgages the farmhouse and property to Heathcliff, and Catherine, I mean Heathcliff elopes with Isabella Linton, and I told you earlier that Isabella and Catherine, I mean Isabella and Heathcliff, they decide to get married, and he elopes with Isabella Linton and returns to Wuthering Heights. So now, Heathcliff, he marries Isabella Linton. Isabella Linton is the sister of Edgar Linton. His only intention is to take a revenge on Edgar Linton, Catherine, and then when Hindley, of course, he's completely overpowering him because he's dominating in the character in the middle of the novel, and he's dominating the Wuthering Heights. So Heathcliff is elopes with Isabella Linton and returns to Wuthering Heights, and he returns to Wuthering Heights, and Catherine, she's almost near dying, and she gave a birth to a daughter, Kathy. So even we have lost another character, that is Frances, the wife of Hindley, and now even the Catherine is also dying, and she gives birth to a daughter called Kathy. So now we have the third generation. There are two generations. The one is the Hindley and Francis' son, that's a Hayton, and we have Catherine and Edgar Linton's daughter, the Kathy, and then we have the next is Isabella also gives birth to a baby boy called Linton. So in the three generation, the three cousins, one is the Hayton, Junior Kathy, and then we have a Linton. Linton is the son of Isabella and the Heathcliff, and the Kathy, she's the daughter of Catherine and Edgar Linton, and Hayton is the son of Hindley and Francis. So in the first generation, it is a Mr. Linton family and Mr. Hanshaw family. After that, we have Edgar Linton, Catherine, the second generation, the third generation, these three, the people. So now, Isabella gives birth to Linton, and Hindley dies 6 months after Catherine, and Heathcliff finds himself master of Wuthering Heights. So now, I told you, even Catherine's health is also deteriorated, and she died, and even the Francis died, and Hindley also dies due to his unhealthy condition. And 6 months after Catherine, so both the brother and the sister died. Is it not so very cathartic situation? A very kind of with the situation where you feel so pity toward these two characters, and Isabella gives birth to a Linton. So now the Kathy becomes a beautiful, high-spirited girl. The Kathy, the daughter of Edgar Linton, and Catherine, and now she becomes the high-spirited girl, and she's there to, she's grew in a high-spirited girl independently. And her father, he still, he's has a lot of the dream towards the daughter and the daughter's well-being and all that. And Edgar, he learns that his sister Isabella, he's dying, so he lives to retrieve her son Linton in order to adopt and educate him. Because Heathcliff, his only intention is to destroy the relationship on the family, and he lost Catherine once Catherine died, and he has completely become like a delirium state of mind. He's become almost like a man, and he always utters Catherine because he deeply fell in love with her. And his wife, that is Isabella, also he's ill-treated by Mr. Heathcliff. And what happened? Edgar learns that his sister Isabella, she's did a bigger mistake by marrying Heathcliff, because Heathcliff is a man of devil. He's the devilish attitude. He's not a good intention in the family relationship. and he's there to take a revenge. So you can see the one side is a love, whereas another side we have a revenge. These two juxtapose in the entire novel. I hope the voice is clear. So Edgar Linton, he learns that his sister Isabella is dying, so he leaves to bring back her son. That is Heathcliff's son, because Heathcliff is not taking care of this boy well, and because sister Isabel is also dying, and being the maternal uncle, Edgar Linton, he goes to bring back her son in order to adopt and educate him, to give him good education. So this is what Edgar Linton decides. Dear student, now how you able to follow the story? In almost in 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to put an end to this entire novel. I'm going to complete the text, and probably because since we have given you a lot of study materials about this novel, and you can read there, you can understand, and you can learn. You can also clarify your doubts during offline classes. As I told you, will be conducted by 19th to 25th. So now, coming back to this, so what happened? So Junior Kathy, she writes all the moves to Wuthering Heights, because I told you she's a high-spirited girl. She writes horse, and she was, right around this Wuthering Heights, and discovers that she is not the one but two cousins. Then she understood that she is not the only one. She has two cousins. Who are they? One is Hayton, and then another one, Linton. Hayton, that is her own uncle. That is Hindley's son. That is Hayton, and here aunt, that is Isabella's son. That is Linton. And walking on the moors, Nellie and Kathy encounter Heathcliff. So walking on the moors, Nellie and Kathy, they encounter Heathcliff, because now they're in the Wuthering Heights, right? So they encounter Heathcliff, and Heathcliff is a man of evil, and he takes them to see Linton and Hayton. And now he takes them to Linton and Linton and Hayton. So in Tuscarawas Grange, when she was reading her hearts, Heathcliff, he decided to take this Kathy to Wuthering Heights, because in Wuthering Heights there are two of her cousins. One is two of her cousins, that is the Hayton and the Linton, and he told her to let me come with me, just come with me, and let me show you your cousins who are there with me. And she showed them. And what happened? So walking in the moors, Nellie, Kathy encounter Heathcliff, and he takes them to see Linton and Hayton, and Heathcliff hopes that Linton and Kathy will marry, so that Linton becomes the heir to Tuscarawas Grange. So even now, the Heathcliff has a bad intention. In case if Kathy marries Linton, he can take the property of the entire Tuscarawas Grange, because now at present the Tuscarawas Grange, it is a property of Edgar Linton and Junior Kathy, the father and the daughter. But in case if Heathcliff's son, that is a Linton, Heathcliff's son, that is a Linton, if he marries Junior Kathy, and Linton became the heir, he's become the owner of the property after the Edgar Linton. So even now, Heathcliff has a bad intention, in making these people marry. The question is, do they really get married? So that is the core question. That is, discuss about it. So now, what has happened? So walking, okay, that's went, and Kathy will marry, so that Linton becomes the heir, the owner of this Tuscarawas Grange. Dear students, are you able to follow me? Because you have to send me one or two reply that yes, you are able to listen. So what happened? Here, one day, what happens? Heathcliff, he deliberately, he captivates. He captivates them, and in a room, he locks them in a room. He captivates them, Kathy and Linton, and where the Kathy, she escapes. She returns to the Grange to see her father shortly before he dies, because she understands that her father health is deteriorated, and she comes to see his father, and here Edgar Linton, he dies, and Kathy arrives to the Heights, and there Linton also dies. The Hayton tries to be kind to Nellie, but she withdraws from the bird. So I was telling this. This is Heathcliff who captivates this Linton and Kathy to marry of them, and he could succeed them. They got married, but not by intent. I mean, not with the willing. There is with the reluctant. And then what happened? And they got married one another. And here, but the boy has died due to this. Kathy arrives to Green Heights. Linton dies because she goes to Tuska's Grange and she saw that her father health is not good, and she has come back here and she finds that the so young Linton is also died, and Hayden tries to be kind to Kathy, but she withdraws from the world. And here, for the very early age, junior Kathy, she becomes a widow, and now the Nellie Dean, she stops her story to Mr. Lockwood. So Nellie Dean, she stops the entire story narration, uh, uh, telling to Mr. Lockwood. Remember, in the beginning, in the morning, I told you that Mr. Lockwood, he's the one who asked about the entire family. Why did I have this nightmare that night? What is this life story is all about? Then Nellie Dean narrate the whole story, but she stopped the story now. At that time, I told you, Kathy, she's a widow, and even you know, okay, junior Kathy, she's a widow, and even Heathcliff is there, and Hayden is also there. Hayden is the cousins of Kathy, the, the maternal uncle son. That is a Hayden. So, and he becomes very kind. But sometimes junior Kathy, she chides, she abuses or she humiliates by taunting, saying that why are you working as a servant? Because this is the property of your father. This is the property of the entire Anshaw family. But how look at that, even Heathcliff is dominating. Heathcliff is controlling everyone. Why can't you revolt against? Why can't you give? Um, why can't you withstand the punishment and all that? Why don't you reaction against him? So she instilled in kind of the braveness. But whereas Hayden, he still likes Heathcliff, because Heathcliff, in a way, he was also little kind to this boy after the death of Hindley. So Melody captures up to the present day. So the story, dear students, are you able to follow me here? You can just drop any messages. Is the voice clear? Is everything is fine? Okay. Yes. So Melodine's tale, it catches up to the present day, and Lockwood informs Heathcliff that he will be living in Tuska's Grange. So Mr. Lockwood, he learns about this family member, and he understood about the entire Tuska's Grange as well as Green Heights, and he feels so remorse towards these family members because what all has happened between them, and and he decided to leave the house, and Lockwood informs Mr. Lockwood that he will be leaving Tuska's Grange. So I'm going to leave this place tomorrow, and he informs to Heathcliff, and Lockwood returns to the area. By chance, he decides to stay there again, but he finds Nellie living at Wuthering Heights and replacing Zilla at Tuska's Grange. And now he understood that Tuska's Grange, there is another new servant is there. Her name is uh, okay, and so Tuska's Grange is controlled. I mean, got a new servant that is a Zilla, and whereas Wuthering Heights, the Nellie, he's there. And Kathy and Hayton, they overcome their mutual antipathy because in the beginning they were not friendly, but gradually once the Linton died, Hayton, he became so kind to his cousin, that is junior Kathy, and they overcome their mutual antipathy because they wouldn't like one another in the beginning, but now they become close, and gradually their friendship develops. Gradually their friendship develops, and Heathcliff, he begins to act strangely and has visions of Catherine. I told you, he develops a kind of delirium, a madness, and he health is deteriorated for He's dead after the 4 days of, and he stopped having food. And in the Catherine's old room, died in Catherine's old room, and he's buried next to Catherine. And Mr. Lockwood, the tenant, who heard the entire the tragic life story of both the families, Thuscus Grange and as well as Wuthering Heights. In Thuscus Grange, Isabella died, Catherine died, and even Edgar Linton died. Even here also, and Hindley and the Francis, and even. Okay, and Lockwood, learns that the Hayton and Kathy plan to get married in the new year's day. So once Heathcliff he's died, and both this, the both the junior Kathy and Hayton, they decided to get married in the next day. And Lockwood, he passes the grave of Catherine, the grave of Edgar Linton, the grave of Heathcliff, and he contemplates the quiet of the moors. By looking at this, the graveyard of Catherine, Edgar Linton, Heathcliff, he contemplates that the quiet moods, how are the entire mood becomes silent, and how the souls of these people are there in this. The souls of these people are quiet in this mood. Are they become spirit? Are they wandering around? So this is how Mr. Lockwood he assumes that. Dear students, kindly apologize for this some technical issues. And but anyhow, I could because through your response, I assume that you could able to understand the concept and certain extent about the entire novel. And you people, we have given you the study material, and you concentrate about the entire the story first. You understand the complexities in narration. The narration, as I told you, there are two narrators, that is a Mr. Lockwood as well as Lily Dean. And then you have the side another side, the complex characters, that is Heathcliff. You have to thorough study with about him. And the study material is very extensively written, and you kindly read the materials and you understand much more better. So I stop the session now. So I'll see you tomorrow in the tomorrow's session. That is there in the morning. I'll see you tomorrow in the morning. So now I have another class for the first years. So thank you, dear students. I'm going to leave the session.
Am I audible to you? Students, am I audible? Yeah. Am I audible to you? Students, can you hear me? Yeah. Now you can hear me, right? Yeah. Welcome to this class, second semester students. Today, we are going to deal with two of the important writers. One is Robert Browning's poem, and another is Alfred Tennyson's poem. There are 5 or 6 poems are there, and whatever it is, I'll try to I'll try to just tell you few of the things where you can concentrate from your for your examination point of view. And maybe since morning you people are attending the classes, and it's my duty to tell you, students should have the passion towards English literature. Since you people have already faced the first semester, you are in second semester, one should have the passion towards English literature. There are many papers prescribed for you, like Indian English literature, translated novels, Shakespearean paper, literary criticism, and Commonwealth paper, Caribbean literature. All these things are there. And you may ask me a question, sir, why we need to study all these things? It is not easy to understand one particular literature. One should have the passion towards literature, and we should do students, as a person, I tell you, don't ever read for the sake of examination. English literature is not meant for them. Don't always compare your reading for English, only for reading for the examination point of view. Try to understand, what is there in the textbook, and try to know. That's what in English we say, read between lines. There are many different aspects of literature. When we look into literature, it is divided into many categories. Maybe there are novels, there are short stories, there are poems, there are novellas, and there is a fiction, there is a short story, and all these things. And every different divisions of literature is written in different way. And there are many authors who are very, very famous, even after 400 years of after their death. Even today, we read about their writing. William Shakespeare, 500, 600 years ago, he has written. We are reading today. Macbeth, As You Like It, Merchant of Venice, Romeo Juliet, and all these things we learn today. Why we need to learn? Why they have written, and why, being the students in 21st century, we should read when it was written in 17th century or 16th century or 12th century, whatever it is. They had the notion. They had the notion. If we don't have that ability to comprehend English literature, we would not understand what kind of culture in those days people had. Romeo and Juliet. Whenever when I ask you a question, you people will say, "Sir, Romeo and Juliet is a love story." What about Macbeth? What about the historical dramas written by him? And what about the short story? Every story has got a theme, and every novel or every drama has got its own purpose. In order to understand a story or in order to understand a particular text, one should understand or one should go through the background in which the particular text is written. When we read that particular text, we come to know what kind of society that was existing in those days, and how the people treated each other. Even just I'm going to explain to you further in my lecture and what kind of society in those days in those days was. Just I'm going to deal with you only the poems today. And I'll tell you the knack of reading a particular text or particular poem. Don't read for the sake of examination. Literature is always filled with rich meanings and themes and the message to the society. How can you cultivate the habit of enjoying literature? How many of you have the habit of reading? If you have the habit of reading throughout your life, then you will cultivate the habit of understanding. Then you will cultivate the habit of enjoying the particular text. Then you will be able to comprehend. It's not merely reading a story can fetch you good marks. Don't think that only good handwriting can give you good marks. There are many students' answer scripts I've gone through in the last semester. The question is asked differently, and the answer to which answer is written is different. If it is like, if a person is asked to write, describe about the coconut tree, and the person doesn't know about the coconut tree, he describes about the buffalo in 2 to 3 pages, and he tells that the buffalo is tied to the coconut tree, and there is a link is given. That's what most of us, I'm just emphasizing, most of us do. Read the text once or thrice or 4 times you read, understand. Then you go for secondary material. Most of the students, what they do, just they buy the guide from stationery, they read the summary, and they reproduce it whatever they have read. It is not. Maybe you may get good, maybe minimum marks, but it won't make you rich with knowledge. And what you're supposed to do, whenever a teacher teaches a particular text, the students should have the hard copy with them, particular text with them. Then as soon as the teacher explains, you should have the pencil with you in your hand and try to take down a few points which are going to be helpful. So let me not deviate from the subject. One should have the habit of learning literature perfectly. In this particular second semester, you have 19th century English poetry you have, and you have 19th century prose and fiction you have, and 20th century English poetry you have, modern Indian poetry in English you have, comparative drama you have, and Indian writing in English you have. Apart from that, you have open elective papers. Don't always think that it is too burdened to understand or to go through a particular text. It is like to read a literature, it is like watching movie. One should have the passion towards reading. Cultivate that habit. Being in second semester, another year or something, you're going to complete your graduation, post graduation. Learn. Open the textbook, take down few points. If you don't know the meaning of that particular word, go consult the dictionary. And we have the tendency of googling down and say, Google, what is the meaning of this? Don't always think that whatever comes in the Google is true. So let us go back to the block 4 you have in that Robert Browning and Alfred Tennyson. And there are 4 poems which are prescribed for you. Andrea del Sarto, My Last Duchess, The Last Ride Together, Prospice. Remember, student, Robert Browning is one of the famous poets in English literature. Many of his poems are even today very famous. He is the master in dramatic monologue. What is a monologue? Monologue is something, a dramatic narration where there is a speaker who speaks to the particular person, second person, and the second person doesn't even utter a word, and he remains not active but passive throughout this one. Let us see. Let me explain to you a few of the things which I have noted down to tell you. Dramatic monologue means there will be a speaker who speaks, there will be a listener who listens, who doesn't even utter a word. In this particular poem, let me discuss Andrea del Sarto. It's quite long poem. I'm not here to read that particular text here. I'm going to tell you what is the purpose of this particular poem and what he tries to tell us through this poem. Is it okay? Do you want me to read line by line and explain? It will take more than 4 hours to complete one particular poem. Let me tell you briefly what is there in this particular poem entitled Andrea del Sarto. In this particular poem, the speaker is Duke of Ferrara. In this poem, the speaker is Duke of Ferrara. The listener is a messenger who was sent by another king to see what is happening in this particular place. In this particular place, if you have the pencil with you, please take down some of the points which may help you to understand or which may help you to write down in your examination. And there is a messenger. And who is the first person here? And he is the Duke of Ferrara. He is the one who just, I'm talking about not Andrea del Sarto, I'm talking about My Last Duchess here. Please make correction. I'm talking to you, my last Duchess. Yes. This particular poem here, the speaker is the Duke of Ferrara, and the listener is a messenger sent by another king. And whatever the speaker speaks and talks about, and the listener only listens. Here, the speaker speaks about an object which can be seen in this palace. In his palace, that is the portrait of his beloved wife. Remember, Duke of Ferrara recently lost his wife, and recently got his Dutch painted on the wall. Whatever the speaker speaks, talks about a lady here, it, it is like an object which can be controlled, which can be used as a tool for their one's sake. Remember, the society in those days was quite difficult to comprehend. It was a male-oriented society where women have become only the machine to bear child or children, whatever it is. They have become a tool in the hands of man. They don't have the freedom. They didn't have the freedom to move around. They did not have the freedom to talk. They did not have the freedom to express their feelings. Here, it talks about so many things here. Excuse me for a while. Here, Duke of Ferrara, talks about his last duchess. And what are the things he talks about? And how this listener or the messenger tries to understand. Let us see. We can see all these things in Robert Browning's era. It is a male-oriented society. There was no right over the things. Women did not have the right over the things. The Duke has got his Duchess painted and kept in his palace at the art gallery. Do you understand this much? This particular incident? What the person who comes and what he has done? He has got his Duchess painted and placed at the art gallery. He had a purpose. What is the purpose the Duke of Ferrara had? And he had the intention of marrying the girl of the king by whom the messenger was sent. Messenger has come here. Remember, the king of Ferrara has recently lost his wife, and he wanted to have a good soft corner in the eyes of the king, and he wanted to marry the daughter of that king. That's what it tells. He had that particular purpose. He wanted to have a good reputation in the hands of, in the eyes or in the views of king, so that he can give his daughter to Duke of Ferrara. So the poem begins like this: that is my last duchess painted on the wall. Look at the particular text there. I'll read out a few lines of the poem before I continue. Just give me 1 minute. This is the last duchess, my last duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. And that particular paint looks as if it was quite alive. And it further tells, Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily in a day. Within a day, Fra Pandolf has painted this picture. And there she stands. Look at the description given by him. Look at the explanation. There she stands. What she stands? A picture cannot stand there. But the life is given to an object. There she stands. Will it please you sit and look at her? And again he asks the question, Won't you please sit down and listen, or please look at the picture there in front of you? I said, Fra Pandu, by design, for never read the strangest like you, that pictured countenance, that depth passions for this earnest glance, but to myself they turned, since just he keeps on he keeps on giving the explanations. Just me tell you, 1 minute. The Duke of Ferrara, who is Duke of Ferrara, is a powerful, proud, and hard-hearted Italian Duke of 16th century. Please take down. Is a proud, hard-hearted, and Italian Duke of 16th century, has been recently widowed. He intends to marry second time. The messenger of a powerful count who had his estate in the neighborhood, comes to Duke's palace to negotiate with him the marriage of Count's daughter. The Duke takes him round his picture gallery and shows him the portrait of his last duchess. The portrait is lifelike and realistic, and the Duke, who is greater lover of the fine arts, it is fine arts, and he just tells that there are many things which we need to understand there. The Duke here, he just wanted to tell a few things here, and it is like the life. Look at, she stands there, and let us see what happens there. Picture painted. Looking at the painted picture, people will definitely will see a lovely expression and lovely expression there, and he just tells and how this lovely expressions in this paint in the picture has come, in this portrait has come, and he just tells that it is far Pedro has given the life to it, and it doesn't look so lovely. It doesn't look so lovely to the people who have come here, and because he hasn't given any freedom to the people to come over and to see. And it is for the first time that this particular king has opened the curtains for the people to come and to observe. And he sees there. And finally, he tries to convince and tells the messenger to report to the king about the last duchess painted by him, painted by Farrokh. My last duchess here, lots of images were used here. What are the things that you need to understand? As a monologue writer, briefly describe how Robert Browning tries to bring out his monologue things through his poem, My Last Duchess. Always remember, whenever you have been given a chance, or whenever you come across the questions like this, comment on the title of that particular poem. Please go through the entire text once and try to understand the background of that particular poem and where it was written and what are the meanings, what are the themes, and what are the things you need to concentrate on this particular, because I need to finish off 4 to 5 poems there. That's why I'm just summarizing everything. What are the characters and how the king, how this particular person tries to explain the picture painted by the person to the messenger, my last duchess. This is one thing you need to concentrate about the monologue. And let us see one more excellent poem. Even this particular poem, even I enjoy a lot while reading. The Last Ride Together. It is also a beautiful poem. One should enjoy while reading it. If you have the textbook, please open the textbook. And if you have the poem with you, please open. And go through the first 5 lines of the poem, My Last Ride Together. Let me open this one. Yeah. I said then, dearest, since it's so, since now at length my fate I know, since nothing all my love avails, since all my life seemed meant for frails, since this way written needs must be, my whole heart rises up to bless. Your name is pride and thankfulness. And this is also a powerful monologue where the speaker here talks about his love towards his wife or the lover. Such here is the love situation out of which the monologue grows. There is a love situation throughout this one. The last ride together. R is always in capital. T is always in capital letter. R always in capital letter, and L is also in capital letter. Such is the love situation out of which monologue grows. It is spoken by the lover as he rides by the sides of his beloved for the last time. As they commence the ride, the beloved for a moment bends over him and places his hands over him. The background is quite clear. Let me explain to you the background of this particular poem. Here, there are two lovers here, and she doesn't want to be with him, and she doesn't want to be with him. She wanted to always go out, explore, and seek some other's love. But whereas here, his love towards his beloved is pure. And he wants to enjoy his company with her, but whereas she doesn't. That's what the first is one. And there he puts one condition. Yeah, fine. Even you can go away from me, but I have two wishes to be fulfilled. One is, please let us have a last ride together before we get separated. And second one is, and he thinks about the past life before he gets separated from her. Let me just read out a few things here. The lover kept waiting by his beloved for a long period of time, and then the lady finally rejected his love and turned to another. The love of the rejected lover was true and sincere. As I told you, he had a tremendous love. He had a tremendous love towards his beloved. The love of the rejected was true and sincere, but despite of his passion, his trying is over. He tried many times to persuade her, just to convince her to accept him as her beloved, but he failed. He tells her frankly that now at least all the things are over. Now he knows that he cannot turn the past life back. We are not given any information, whether they had any miscommunication. But here we are told that she doesn't want to be with him. Then the only meaningful thing in his life was to be with with his lover. And now that he has failed in his love, finally, when she says that she doesn't want to be with him and she wants to go away to another person, and he utterly is disappointed and tells himself that I have failed in the mission of accomplishment of winning the hearts of that particular lady. He knows that his failure was ordained by God, and he accepts that it is given by God, and that is what fated cannot be bolted. The fates cannot be bolted. Whatever is written in the head cannot be bolted. And or we cannot blame anyone. We cannot blame anyone. The lover, therefore, is designed to his own fate, because he can tell her to be with him till the rest of his life, but we cannot compel a particular person, because she wants to go away to this particular man with whom she is in love. She doesn't take pleasure in accepting him as her beloved. Let us see. The lover, therefore, designed to his own fate. Rather, he is proud that at last he had the privilege of loving her and enjoying his company for such a long time. In the second stanza, he tells, he had the privilege, even though he couldn't be with her till the rest of his life, but he is satisfied with one sentence, that he had the privilege to be with her till today. He thanks her for all the moments and perfect bliss which he had known in her company. For this, he prays to God to bless her. He has now no hopes of getting her love in this life. Still, in the end, he requests her to grant two wishes, as I told you before. He doesn't have the hope that she will be back in his life. And he wants to have two wishes to be granted. He desires first that he should be permitted to cherish the moment, every moment, or every memory of a love, and the period supreme happiness during which he counted her. Secondly, he wishes, if she considers nothing improper or incident, his request that she should come with him for the last ride. That means two wishes. One is about enjoying, cherishing every moment, and the second one is to come with him for the last ride. Last ride. Let us see in the second stanza what happens there. The rejected lover requests his lady to come with him for the last ride together. The lady stops for a moment and thinks and asks lots of questions within herself whether to go with him or not to go with him. And just finally, she tells that for the last time, I'm going to ride with you. And she accepts his proposal of last ride. And there is a conflict here within herself. That's what I told you. Conflict. And finally, she accepts to ride with him. It was a matter of life and death for him. If the lover is if the particular person, the lover, rejected his request, his life would have been hell for him. Even his happiness is going to leave for a shorter period, not for a long time, for a shorter period, where maybe within half an hour or something, is the entire happiness in his life will come to an end. Will come to an end. If she agreed to the last ride with him, it would mean life to him. Or refusal on the other end would kill him. Maybe it will give life for him for not not so many days or so many years. It is a momental, it's a short period of enjoyment. At this lady granted his request, he lived once again. The circulation of blood in his body was restored. Again and again, please look at the imageries that are used. The blood is restored in him. As long as the lady hesitated, the lover felt almost lifeless, as if there was no blood in his body. Now, life and activity within him was revived by a favorable reply saying, yes, I'm going to ride for the last time. For the last time. His last desire was at least fulfilled. Look at why his last wish is at least fulfilled. He couldn't even think that he is going to live with her till the rest of his life. But at least his request to accept his proposal to ride for the last time was accepted. The request had been made in vain. As a result, they now ride together side by side. They will breathe and ride. He will enjoy heavenly bliss like God. And for one more day, the lover has all Browning's appreciation here, where Browning has given lots of images here in order to give some meaning to meanings to his writing. Let us see what happens next. In that case, he would always be with her and would enjoy external happiness in the life after death. Maybe this particular moment of enjoyment, which is going to stay till the end of his life, this moment which is going to enjoy with her in the last ride, and is going to this particular incident or particular moment is going to remain with him till the last days of his life. Let us see. So there is no need to despair at a rejection of his love. Let us see what happens next. In this particular third stanza here, the lover tells us of heavenly bliss which he experienced for a shorter period while the lady bent towards him and placed head on his shoulders. Her body was in close contact with his own, and the lover experienced heavenly bliss during the short moment. As she puts her head on his shoulder, he could enjoy each and every moment of his life. The last ride with her was really a thing of joy till the end of his life. And the journey commences in the fourth stanza, where he enjoys each and every moment. And when the He keeps on giving lots of images where his happiness is described in different images. At the end, he wanted to just go away, and finally he wanted to go away with her, and finally she just comes out with one statement that she doesn't want to be with her, and the particular happiness comes to an end there. This is the last ride together. Before I end this class, I'm going to discuss with you and Prospice, another beautiful poem, another monologue written. Is also a short poem here, and if you have the text, please open it. Please take down few of the important points that I'm going to tell you. Prospice. Let me open the text. Yeah, it's here. Prospice. The poem. This is a dramatic romances, which was written in 1864. It was written in the autumn following the death of Mrs. Browning. Means after the death of his beloved wife, he wrote this particular poem. Prospice is a Latin meaning, which means look forward. The title is very apt and very, very suggestive. For in it, the poet looks forward with hope and confidence into meeting his beloved, not here in heaven. That's called Prospice. This particular poem was written after the death of his beloved wife in the other world after death. It is a monologue, but it is a subjective and not dramatic, as are most of the other monologues, Browning's. Throughout, it is the poet who is the speaker, and the monologue is an expression of poet's own hope, courage, and determination. Because he takes an inspiration. He takes an inspiration for himself, because he wants to face death very, very courageously. That's what the first two lines, let me read out. Fear death, to feel the fog in my throat, the mist in my face, when the snow begins and the blasts denote I'm nearing the place. The power of the night, the press of the storm, the post of the foe. He tells, let me briefly explain to you what is this particular poem. There are about 20 lines are there. I'm not going to read out particular poem, just I'm going to explain to you. If you want, take down a few points here. The poet doesn't fear death. Rather, he welcomes it, for he knows that it is the only after death he can meet his beloved wife. He is not afraid about the death, and he welcomes the death with wholeheartedly, so that after his death he can meet his beloved. He is determined to face death bravely and fearlessly, just as a climber on a mountain had to face fog, mist, storms, snowfalls. So as a dying man suffers from a feeling of suffocation and dimness of eyesight. He just compares the person who climbs the mountain. A person who climbs the mountain, in order to reach the top, he has to come across the fog, he has to come across the mist, he has to come across the storm, he has to come across the snowfall. So as the dying man should come across suffocation, and what are the things that suffocation, dimness in the eyesight, and his breathing grows hard and difficult, and his limbs grow cold. Dying man's feeling like this. All this indicates that the dying person is nearing the place of death, the arch enemy of mankind. That's what arch enemy of mankind is here. FOE, the post of the foe. The arch enemy, the death is the arch enemy of mankind. But the poet would remain unafraid even when he sees death. Why? Because he doesn't want to end his life. He doesn't want to end his life, but he wants to face death courageously. He wants to face his life courageously so that he can meet his beloved, Mrs. Browning, after his death. After his death. And he welcomes death as his own friend. That's what he compares. Like every people will be having one or the other difficulties. So death will knock at the door at any moment. And he is prepared to meet. Is prepared to meet. Let us see what happens. Where did I stop? Oh yeah. Mankind, but the poet would remain unafraid even when he faces death face to face with all its terrors. The battle with death is the last battle of life. Please take down that the battle with death is the last battle of life, because after death there is no death. Even John Donne's poem, or to death or something, he tells, death, thou should die. That means after death, there is no death. According to the beliefs in different religions, and there is no rebirth. Maybe lots of religions, they believe about rebirth after death, but most of the religions, they don't have the rebirth. After death, there is no rebirth. And he tells that the death is the last battle of life, and the poet is determined to fight his last battle heroically and fearlessly. It is the only after this, the last battle, that the barriers which divide the world from the other world will fall far away, and the brave man reaches its destination. Maybe even after my death, what I will do, I will reach heaven to be united with my beloved. The poet is sure that after his last battle, he would meet his beloved wife, and then this would be the sufficient reward for him for all his suffering. Maybe he had a tremendous love. He had a tremendous love towards his wife. He doesn't want to commit suicide here. He doesn't want to end his life like a coward. And he wants to meet his death so bravely so that he can meet his beloved in heaven. Because he had the one intention. According to Christian belief, if a person commits suicide, he straight away goes to hell. Straight away goes to hell. We don't have the authority over our own life. It is the will of God whenever it is, whatever it is. If God wants you to die today, you will die. You cannot have the authority over your life. You cannot end your life. If you end your life by yourself, you will directly go to hell. Browning did not decide, he hasn't decided like this to end his life, to meet his beloved so soon. He is waiting for the death to come to him, to face the death so fearlessly, courageously, so that after his death, without any hurdles, he will reach heaven, to be united with his beloved. The poet has always been a fighter, and his last fight, the fight with his death, would be the most heroic of all. Look at the next description. The heroic of all. He is going to fight like a hero. He challenges death to do its worst and cause him maximum suffering. And he is requesting, death, when you come to me, don't give me the minimum pain, give me the maximum pain, because I'm going to face death only once. After my death, I'm not going to die again. I'm going to be with my beloved in heaven. He would not like to die in a cowardly manner, like a person who is blindfolded before he is shot dead. Just look at his comparison. He doesn't want to die like a coward. Whenever we go to a prison, if a person is going to be hanged, what do? They blindfold, they cover their face, criminal's face, they hang. But he doesn't want to face a cowardly death. And he just tells, before he shot dead, and also remains unaware what is going to happen to him. And whenever a person's face is covered, he will not understand, he will not come to know what is going to happen. He thus escapes much suffering. The poet doesn't want such a cowardly death. He would like to die like the brave heroes of the world who suffered, endured heroically whatever arises in him, maybe the pain, the suffering, dark, cold, whatever it is, still remain unpaid. He would like to pay them all the moment of death, so that he may enjoy perfect happiness in his life to come. That means he wants to enjoy the death, so that he will be happy throughout his life. Next, what happens? Next, last 4 lines here, this particular poem. The terror and the pain of death is only momentary. Just look at the description here. It is only the momentary. The pain of death is only momentary. After death, you will not have any pain. Okay? Soon the black minute comes to an end. Soon the suffering will come to an end. And the brave man then sees the light of heaven. And it is the faith which sustains and strengthens the poet. He is quite optimistic about his life after his death. And in the other words, he would embrace his beloved, hug his beloved wife once again, and he says, "Oh, thouest soul of my soul, I shall clasp means hug thee again, with and which God be rest." And prospies. So it's like a monologue, as from the beginning till the end. He describes about his own thoughts. How he is going to face death courageously. And lots of images. What are the images that are used throughout this poem? The development of the thought, you should keep it in your mind. Why this particular Prospice is an inspirational poem. And compare the love of the poet with his beloved. And these are the things you need to concentrate about this particular poem. Students, do you have any doubts to ask? Please ask. Students, do you have any question to ask? Please ask. Today, we have dealt with my last stitches, Ante Desalto, and last side together, and Prospice. Actually, I wanted to complete Lotus Eaters and Ulysses. We will try to complete it tomorrow. Students, do you have any questions to ask? Please ask. Please go through the text once again. Go through the texts once again, and please take down the notes as far as possible. Whenever you are asked a question to write about a particular poem, please take few quotations, or take some texts from the particular story or particular poem and try to quote. That will fetch you more marks. The classes to come tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I'll tell you how to write a good answer in the examination. Any questions to ask, students? Okay, students, I'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.